All right, y'all, what's going on? Welcome back. Hear Me Out podcast. Quick update. I told you guys going to keep y'all updated on everything that's happening with the NBA playoffs and the boycotts. So the NBA has decided, the NBA and the NBA Players Association, they have decided that they will resume the playoffs starting tomorrow. Today is Friday. They will be starting Saturday, tomorrow. And there was a joint statement released by the NBA and the NBA Players Association, a tweet from Tim Bontemps. Forgive me if I said that wrong, but I'll go ahead and read this statement out of Orlando. The NBAPA executive director, that's them releasing a statement. We had a candid, impassioned, and productive conversation yesterday between NBA players, coaches, and team governors regarding next steps to further our collective efforts. Shut up, CNN. And Snapchat. Both of y'all shut up. In support of social justice and racial equality. Among others, the attendees included player and team representative of all 13 teams in Orlando. All parties agreed to resume NBA playoff games on Saturday, August 29th, with the understanding that the league, together with the players, will work to enact the following commitments. Number one being that the NBA and its players have agreed to immediately establish a social justice coalition, something that they already should have, but, the time is now, with representatives from players, coaches, and governors that will be focused on a broad range of issues, including increasing access to voting, promoting civic engagement, and advocating for meaningful police and criminal justice reform. That's fantastic, number one. Number two, in every city where the league franchise owns and controls the arena property, team governors will continue to work with local elections officials to convert the facility into a voting location for the 2020 general election to allow for a safe, in-person voting option for communities vulnerable to COVID. And before I continue, that's fantastic because the NBA is now using their strength, and I guess you can say privilege, to give the satisfaction or the peace of mind of voting without having to worry about getting sick. Clearly, they're doing a great job in the bubble of their players not getting sick. So I think that they've earned the benefit of the doubt on whether this is a safe thing to do or not with the in-person voting in their facilities. And the third thing that's on here is the league will work with the players and our network partners to create and include advertising spots in each NBA playoff game dedicated to promoting greater civic engagement in national and local elections and raising awareness around voter access and opportunity. We look forward to resumption of the playoffs and continuing to work together in Orlando and all the NBA team markets to push for meaningful and sustainable change. Now, my takeaway from this is, man, the pause and play worked. Clearly, because now they got the coalition. They have more advertising slots now. They're going to be promoting greater civic duty, a.k.a., they're going to be promoting Black Lives Matter. They're going to be talking about the protests. A lot of the NBA commentators and analysts, they already speak a lot on this during the games. They mentioned what's written on the back of the jersey. They mentioned Breonna Taylor. They mentioned the latest things, Doc Rivers with his emotional speech following the shooting, attempted murder of Jacob Blake. It's a great thing that the NBA is doing. Should have already done a lot of these things before, but the fact that it's happening now, I want to give a big salute to George Hill and the Bucks for starting this. Really, Kyrie started it. Really, Colin Kaepernick started it, but in NBA terms and bubble terms, Kyrie was the one that was advocating for all this stuff. George Hill's the one that made it happen in the middle of the playoffs. Well, I don't want to give all the credit to George Hill. Let's just say the Bucks in general, led by George Hill, from what I've seen. And clearly now they are thinking more about it as this is good for business, that, these people are protesting and talking about Black Lives Matter. And now they're starting to realize it's no longer marketable to be racist. It's no longer marketable to sleep on these things. So now the NBA is starting to implement these new things so that they don't keep losing their viewers. Are they doing the right thing? Maybe. But is it because they deep down want to? I think that's arguable. But regardless, the pause and play worked, because now we have things that are being implemented that were not there beforehand, and play starts tomorrow, right? I was saying it's not a good idea to cancel the season after having gone through all this, setting up the bubble, the great job that the NBA has been doing in the bubble, even promoting Black Lives Matter. I know it's just a moral thing, moral win in some people's eyes, but having Black Lives Matter on the court, having the things written on the back of these players' jerseys, and giving them, somewhat of the freedom to speak on these things. Another reason why the NBA is starting to go way past the Major League Baseball and football. By the way, we're dropping a podcast about Major League Baseball featuring myself, Brooks, and my cousin Mike, which will be up shortly. But they let the players talk. And this has become... The NBA is an innovator and a leader in sports where you see every other league follow suit. After the NBA stopped in March, every other team followed suit. After the postponing of these games on Thursday, every other league followed suit. The NBA is a bunch of trendsetters in my eyes. They're doing a fantastic job. Until this shit stops, this is going to keep happening. Things are going to stop. People are going to talk. And this is how it should be. And again, I said it in the last video. All the people that were mad about it in the comments saying that they're never watching the NBA again, good fucking riddance. Nobody wanted you guys watching the NBA in the first place if something like this is going to bother you so much where you can never watch it again. Don't say LeBron is ruining the NBA. Don't say that these guys... Don't say any... Especially LeBron. LeBron pushes his game to new heights every single time he steps on the court, and every single time he opens his mouth off the court. So please stop with that bullshit. That's bullshit, all right? So NBA playoffs are starting back up tomorrow via the Bleacher Report, and another tweet talking about the NBA and the NBAPA's joint statement following their meeting on Thursday where, LeBron walked out. And another big thing that I think is worth noting here, the only African-American owner in the entire NBA is Michael Jordan, and he was one of the biggest voices of reason in this meeting between the players, where he actually was mediating the whole situation, where they were able to come to this agreement to play. And I think Michael Jordan he's definitely deserves a lot of credit for, mediating between the players, and for being the only African-American owner. That's a huge accomplishment in itself. Forget the Jordan, Nike, that he's the first African-American billionaire in sports. Forget all that. He is the first African-American owner in the NBA, and I think the only one in any of these major sports. So him being in that position, and like they said on First Take, he wears those two hats, the owner hat and the only black guy being the owner hat. So he got to really give his perspective on both of these issues. And again, Michael Jordan, a guy who was heavily criticized in his playing days for saying, oh, well, Republicans buy sneakers too. He's come a long way from that. He's donating $10 million a year via the Jordan brand to charitable black organizations. It's just fantastic. The NBA is back. Thank you, Michael Jordan. Thank you, LeBron. Thank you to all these guys that go out there and mentally prepare for high-stakes basketball. Again, I keep saying this. The best basketball players on earth going for all the marbles. I know it's not the finals, but the playoffs is do or die every time they step out there. I know it's a 4-game. You got to win 4 games to advance, but it's high-stakes basketball. Millions of people are watching, especially with the pandemic going on. More people are tuning in, and they got to prepare even though all this stuff is going on around. So great news that the NBA is going to resume as of tomorrow. The games today were postponed yesterday, and yeah, man, here we are. The NBA is going to start back up tomorrow. Thank you again to all the players the players and the owner that I mentioned that did everything in his power to mediate and be the voice of reason. Shout out to all those guys, and I look forward to watching more games tomorrow. But whenever it needs to stop, it needs to stop. Clearly it worked, and I hope to see them do this more in the future. If this happens again next week, shut it down again. Shut it down again. Get people talking and thinking. And for those cops, I hope y'all don't tune in, but if you do, I hope, you realize the cops that shot Jacob Blake. I hope that they realize what they're, regardless. These people watched what happened to George Floyd and still did what they did. You got to have a lot of hate in your heart to do that. So I hope if you tune into these NBA games that they talk the worst shit about you guys. I wish nothing but all the bullshit that's coming your guys' way deserve it. The cops responsible for shooting Jacob Blake, and for every other cop that hasn't been fired, that hasn't been arrested for shooting and killing unarmed black people. Whether they die or not, doesn't matter. You are shooting people essentially for no good reason, just because they're black. Stop it. All right? NBA playoffs back tomorrow. Hear Me Out podcast. Subscribe, man. We're almost at 400. Again, if it needs to stop, stop. Let's talk and reflect. I'll see you guys again soon.